Welcome everyone to MS Confidential. I am so happy you all are here with us tonight. Every month we have candid conversations about life with multiple sclerosis and by default other chronic illnesses as well. Our regular panelists are all in various stages of MS. Elizabeth Jameson, the brainchild of MS Confidential, artist, writer, amongst lots of other things. Kyle Cronick, who is an absolutely amazing influencer over on Instagram, MS advocate at Gotta Keep Going if you want to check out what he does. And it's just fun and brilliant to watch him. And Annie Brewster, who is assistant professor at Harvard and practicing physician and founder of Health Stories Collaborative, which is just one of my all-time favorite organizations. But tonight we are thrilled to have artist and MS advocate Lydia Emily join us to explore how our chronic illness has shaped our career identities and how we've been challenged to find our value, power, and purpose in this world outside of the hustle culture. She is going to join us after our regular panelists have addressed my first question. And if you want to learn more about our guests, including Lydia Emily, she has an extensive, amazing bio and website. Head over to unfixedmedia.com and you can read about everybody's fantastic lives. My name is Kimberly Warner. I am the founder and director of Unfixed Media, and I'm just here to keep the conversation flowing. Sometimes I'll chime in, bring my own experiences of chronic illness to the chat, but please, 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 before we begin, place your questions in the chat box. I will throw these at the panelists during the Q&A, but I just want to remind you all that it's really, really meaningful for our panelists to hear feedback. We don't get to hear like what's going on in the ethers. So we want to hear your voices. If you don't want to share during the Q&A, comment on the YouTube channel. We just want to know how this show is affecting all of you. So let's get started. So for our panelists, our regular panelists, anyone want to jump in and talk about how your illness has affected your work or career identity thus far? Don't all jump in at once.
Yeah. Well, I can jump in. I was a lawyer, then I got MS, and I couldn't no longer practice courtroom law. So I decided, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I discovered art. Never did art in my life. Never in an art class. Didn't want to do art. I was a lawyer. And then I went to art school, became an artist, and then my disease kept progressing. So I lost the use of my hands. So I could no longer be an artist. So I just switched to be a writer. And so my career keeps changing as MS keeps changing.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I just want to say, like, always thinking about your journey, I'm so inspired by how you've continually reinvented yourself and found these amazing ways to use your experience to do good work. And, I know you started as a public service lawyer, but you're doing public service all the time in everything you do. So I admire that. I'll say for me, I'm a doctor. In my training, I was diagnosed with MS early in my training, but after medical school, but in residency, and it entirely changed the course of my career. I'd say mostly I'm grateful for that, even though it was, of course, not something that I would have wanted, but it helped me get clarity on what matters most in terms of patient care. Sitting on the patient side has really helped me be a better doctor, I think. And then my work with Health Story Collaborative all around storytelling and health really grew out of my own experience of navigating illness and learning how to integrate a diagnosis of chronic illness into my own sense of self and identity. And that's really what inspires my interest in storytelling as a therapeutic tool, because it helped me. And it's also become something that I do to help other people and made my work as a doctor richer. So I think it helped me find my purpose, but I don't want to be like too toxic positivity, silver lining-y, but because of course it's a drag, but it did, and I'll say there are times where I'm like, well, what am I going to do if I like, I've been lucky and I have, I'm pretty able-bodied still so far, but what if I like my work in urgent care requires me like running from room to room and seeing patients. And so there are definitely times I've thought like, well, what am I going to do if I can't do this? And I have to think outside of the box and create other things because I still do clinical medicine in addition to the storytelling work. So there's like an anxiety that overhangs me of like, how will that shift? But I also feel hopeful that I can create a new path. And as I have already, like it's given me a sense of purpose and wanting to do work that has brought me to a deeper level, I think.
And before I want Kyle to talk, I want to say I learned about Annie from, I don't know how I learned about Annie, but she was my mentor or soulmate. And then when I decided to create MS Confidential, I found out about Kyle, and he was like an incredible inspiration to me because he's
Hmm.
so real. He
Yeah.
talks on his channel the ups and downs, and I when we out about him, I interviewed him and I said, in 2 minutes, I said, "Oh, we have to have him because he's not afraid of telling the truth, the good, the bad, the ugly." So I we I can't introduce this man more wonderfully. So thanks, Kyle, and take it from here.
You're my biggest cheerleader. I will say that,
Mhm.
bar none. Going back to what you were saying, Annie, about you having anxiety about potential progression of this naturally progressive disease and what that would mean. I'll just say I follow this badass girl on Instagram who is, I think she's a trauma nurse, an ER nurse. And she is full-time in a wheelchair, and that is not slowing her down at all.
I love it. Love it. Yeah.
For myself, I feel like I'm a lot like Elizabeth. I've had to reinvent what I want and what I can do realistically with this condition going forward. MS hit me right when I was starting college. I started college a little late. In my younger years, I always worked with my dad in his restaurants, and I kind of inherited his entrepreneurial spirit. And I just figured I would probably do something like that. I'd own a restaurant or a coffee shop or something. Obviously, very physical. Um, Not very realistic these days because my MS has progressed further than I ever thought it would throughout my entire life. So I kind of have found some purpose within this too, because I'm back in school full time, loving it at Colorado State University. Finishing, I have an associate's degree in accounting, and I'm continuing those degrees. And it's weird, MS and this diagnosis. There's so much unknown. I'm always searching for an answer, and I can never find it, which has kind of gotten me to love accounting, which is weird. Nobody loves accounting.
Oh, that's
But I love
so
accounting
great.
because there is always an answer and I can
Right.
find it, and I love that.
I actually liked tax law, believe it or not, because
Tax
there
law.
was always an answer.
Yep.
So boring, but there was an
Yes.
answer.
Yes.
I want to bring, that's a great way to segue. If Lydia is ready to jump on in with us. because as I mentioned earlier, Lydia is an artist, a prolific artist and muralist who's used some of her own suffering. She was diagnosed with MS in 2012, and used some of that suffering and her diagnosis story to help other people understand and feel less alone and raise awareness, creating more equality, working for social justice. But she's used her art to do that. So, and I think of art as a place where there's no answers, there's no right or wrong. And so I want to know, Lydia, what that's been like for you to integrate, your work and your MS experience into one thing. Or do you feel like there's still a line between the two?
Well, hi, and thank you to the panel for having me. I'm very honored to be asked to be a part of your cool club, kind of like the Peach Pit. Remember the Peach Pit on the 90210 show? You guys are like the cool kids, and I'm like the peripheral.
Right.
So thanks for letting me hang out. Well, I think about MS is I think about it really differently than everybody else. So the way I've been able to handle it, because my work, being an oil painter, which you can kind of see behind me, I don't do abstract art like a lot of people do. Not a lot of people. Half of the art world does abstract or new art, where they're just throwing stuff and it's feelings and it's all awesome for them. I do like people's wrinkles. I'm a face painter. I've always been a face painter. I love people's faces. I love wrinkles and I love eyelashes. I love this spot here that gets like a little divot in the collarbone. When you're looking at paintings and there's just this slight highlight, it's just like, yum, yum, yum. Gimme. So for that kind of thing, you need a tiny brush with, a few hairs and the stillest hand, which I don't have anymore. Mm-hmm. So how I incorporated MS is I started wrapping my paintbrushes to my hands, because it's not even just the shaking. Holding the paintbrush for any amount of time, it's like holding a fork or holding a pen. Your muscles get tired. People, I don't know how much people understand with MS, especially when if you have relapsing remitting and you're having a flare, or if you have progressive, your jaw gets tired chewing your food.
Yep.
Always.
Like my arms get tired folding laundry. I'm like,
right.
So when I was out doing murals and I was having to carry, 30-pound buckets of paint, and you have to climb up a wall or you have to climb up over a freeway overpass sometimes, whatever it is you're doing, it requires you to be just left of parkour sometimes. It's ridiculous. So I had to admit my mortality, that I'm not a superhero and I need a crew. And so now when I go to do murals, I have a very select crew of people that I trust, and they can look at me and they go, lay down. And I've done the whole outline and it's all, my design or whatever, but they know what goes into it. And they're all artists in their own right. They all have beautiful art in their own right. But the way I treat MS is, like I said, different. A lot of people say fight it and cure and all that, and that's dope, and they should totally do that. The way that I think I survive is I treat my MS like a kitten or a baby.
Love that.
That needs attention. It needs to be talked to and looked at, and needs its fucking medicine. It needs sleep. The baby screams and cries, and we're like, baby needs a nap. MS needs you to nap. It needs to be cared for and loved and coddled, and it's fucking narcissistic, and it's—
That's funny. I've compared MS to a finicky kitty as well.
Yeah.
Very particular. Here he is right now.
Yeah, I mean, it'll I feel like it's something that I, maybe because of over the years and the way it affected my work and affected my life, I don't know that I want to fight it anymore. I don't know that I have it in me to fight it, and I don't know that I'm going to win. So to accept it to give it love and care and attention that it deserves, and to make it important, because when I make it important, I'm acknowledging that I'm important.
So Lydia, did you start there? Like, did you start with that acceptance, or were you fighting it in the beginning and then this was a transition to it's a kitty that, or I need to nurture it or take care of it? Like, I'm just curious because I think that sounds really healthy. I have not, I can't, I want to make that shift, but was it a shift for you or did you start there? I'm curious.
I don't think I ever thought I had a chance. I think that, I mean, before, and this is all honesty, and no, I'm not saying that other people shouldn't feel like they have a chance. I'm not taking that away from them. Fight the good fight. But before MS, I had cancer. About 5 years before I had MS, I had cancer. And I have a child with autism who needs 24-hour care. And my biological sister is very sick with scleroderma, which is also an autoimmune disease. My grandmother died of lupus. Like, I feel like I've had the exposure of what fighting this might be. The energy might be better used holding that kitten.
Agreed.
And I don't know if that makes any sense.
It absolutely does. It can take a lot out of you fighting so hard. It has taken a lot out of me, and yeah, making that shift for me, it was a shift. I did feel like I could overcome this shit. I don't like the word cure. I don't like that. But I feel like just within the past year and a half or so, I've just come to accept the reality here. You can't fuck with reality. It's gonna do what it wants.
I want to know, you guys, since let's go with this kitty child metaphor a little bit more and bring it back to work life, because we don't have maternity leave for our chronic illnesses. So how do you deal with that? Because I mean, Annie, you're still expected to go to work. Elizabeth, you had to, change careers, but we don't get maternity leave for chronic illness to tend lovingly to the needs of our bodies.
I'm excited about once I get these degrees done, most of the jobs that I'm seeing available that pay very, very well are remote. So if I'm working from home, I feel like I can work around even if I'm sick as a dog with my MS. If I'm home and comfortable, that'll be good.
Yeah, I just feel like for me, this is like a growing edge. I'm not so good at nurturing that part of myself or giving myself a break when I know I should. I'm inspired hearing people who have been able to look at it differently. Yeah, it's something I'm working on, because I do think sometimes I'm my own worst enemy and that I push myself too hard.
I don't know if it's helpful or not. I mean, I'm a painter, right? So of course I'm going to say visualize it. But let's say you had a wound on your face or your arm or whatever. Let's say you had an open wound that needed care. And for whatever reason, like, think about, like, this is going to be crazy, but let's think about like King Henry VIII, right? The crazy King of England who had all the wives and all that stuff. He had these huge sores on his legs. And at that time, they weren't able to fix them, right? So they would heal up for a little while and then they'd rupture and open again. And they'd heal up for a little while and they'd rupture and open again. So think about, I guess, your MS, you could visualize it like that. If you had a huge wound on your arm and it opened when you were having a flare, people would say, go take care of that.
Yeah.
That looks crazy. Like, stop what you're doing. And I know we don't take it seriously, I think, because, like, as a wound, because we can't see it. It's invisible inside of us. So we're like, oh, I can handle this. Oh no, people are like, oh, you don't look sick and all that stuff. So it's up to you as the person, because no one else is going to do it for you, to visualize that open wound. Just recall King Henry VIII. He was a crazy bastard. He would have demanded it. And imagine that you have this open wound that needs to be cared for. Maybe visualizing it helps
I
you.
think that. I like that. I like the visualizing because I think that makes it more real. Because it's easier for me to think, oh my gosh, if someone else had an open wound, I would jump in and want to help it. But it's harder when it's like yourself, or at least for me, it is. But I like that, making it a visual thing. That works for me. I'll practice.
So when it's invisible, Lydia, do you, you can visualize it in here, but when it's invisible, obviously other people can't see what you're seeing. Have you found a way to communicate? I mean, you communicate through your art, but do you find situations where colleagues don't know about your situation and then you have to articulate it, or, you need to kind of create some parameters around your work life and how you navigate all of that? And I mean, I would imagine communication is a huge part of this with your colleagues.
The only way for me to be able to articulate it clearly to people was to paint it, because that's my job. So I did these paintings that show what it feels like to me, not what it feels like to you guys, but what it feels like to me, like the sandbags picked through your feet and hanging, all these things. And so then that way I was able to show, I was like, this is what it feels like. But I don't really have a problem articulating it. I am, and this is what I've taught my kids from Go, I am my own advocate. No matter how many people around me cheering, they'll get tired and go to sleep at some point.
Right.
I am my only advocate. And if I don't stand up and go, this is what it feels like, put your hand on the burner. That's what it feels like. I know you can't see it, but you also can't see ghosts, and you talk about them and you make movies about them and you run from them, and you can't see them either. So just imagine ghosts in my body eating my cells,
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, I'll find all sorts of creative ways to say it to people, and not hide it. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with being tired. There's nothing wrong with being sad. There's nothing wrong with feeling defeated, because it's passing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think our society does label those things as wrong, though, and I think that's what we have to push back against. But I think that's amazing the work you're doing. I'm inspired by what you said about like envisioning you painting a mural and bringing this crew of people with you who you trust, who you've invited in, who know you and you know them enough to feel like in a safe space to say, create what I want. I love that, because I think leaning on other people is so important, and finding
support system is huge.
Yeah, but that's like, so I find that really inspiring.
Well, I'm super fucking grateful is what I am.
Yeah.
I also I've created a society, my own micro society, where there's no judgment. I mean, I have people in my crew who are Catholic and very serious about it, and Republican, and I have other people who are liberals and socialists, and we have my micro organism of people doesn't reflect what has happened in the last 5 to 10 years in the world. We are different religions, we're different political, social awareness, we're different colors, we're different ages, you know what I mean? Like, this is a safe space. And so for as much as I give everyone that space to be who they are without judgment, I get that in return. And that has been pivotal for me to survive.
I think it's important to recognize that we can't do it alone. It's having chronic illness is very isolating, and if we have to develop some sort of community, I think. I hate saying you have to do anything, but if I can, I need community. I don't know but other people, but when I know they have friends who are on my corner, I can call Kyle or can call Annie, or just we can't do it. I I can't do it alone. I should say I can't do it alone. I love the fact I have people I can call on. And the other thing I really relate to is thanking my body. Like, oh, I, eyes, thank you for letting me see. 'Cause I have lots of retinal problems. And I thought, well, thank you, retina, for allowing me to see today. That feeling of gratitude for my poor body coping with all this shit. That it just, I think it's amazing that I'm alive and can do as much as
Yeah.
I can. I'm a quadriplegic. I'm still doing everything I can. I love it most days. I love it. Some days I'm not. I'm depressed. I don't love it, but I don't know. I just think our bodies need attention, just like you said, Kyle and Annie and Lydia. So
You're a rock star, Elizabeth. And I know, I mean, you're also the hardest person on yourself,
I
which
am.
probably all are. But just like Lydia was saying, you've rallied to create a group of people around you that support and love and encourage and believe in you. At least that's how I see it from the outside. And I think that takes work. It's not something, I'm curious about how this lives. Like Kyle, when you graduate and you do your accounting work, are you going to be vocal about MS? Are you going to kind of keep the world separate? Are you going to build a community? Like how do you can bridge those two somehow? Or
I don't think it's possible to keep them separate. So I'm gonna have to. I mean, I have to
Yeah.
continue to be vocal and just. I don't know. I can articulate these issues as well as possible, but I've gotten exhausted having to explain to people like coworkers and stuff. No matter how I explain it, they're not going to understand. I just have to find a way to deal with them not understanding it. Let that not let that affect me.
I think that people, I think that my humble opinion is I think that people actually want to try and understand.
They do,
really
they do. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
right.
I mean, even the people that are closest to me, obviously they want to understand. I really don't want them to fully understand because I feel like you have to experience this shit firsthand to really understand it. And I don't wish that on anybody. Yeah.
Lydia, when I talked to you, I called you up saying, I heard about you and you're a badass. And when you answered the phone, you were a badass. You were going, yeah, well, I'm painting with
Mm-mm.
rope, roping my paintbrush. You were like, oh my God. So
yeah.
I
I can
think that,
show you. I can show you here. I'll get a brush for you. So this one's a bigger brush. So this is for like this part of the face. This isn't for little eyeballs or anything, but this is a really nice one. It's a really nice brush. And I try to use so little tip, bra straps. Bra straps are fucking genius because
hello.
they have this little soft thing on the inside, Kyle, for you to know. They have
That's
this
what I
little
do.
soft thing, yeah, right there. And that soft thing helps grip your hand without causing any pressure. So I wrap it around as many times as I need to, depending on the length, and give myself some extra pressure here. And the brush goes dun, 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 like
wow.
that.
Nice.
I don't have to grip it. It just sits there. And my hand still gets tired, and I have a bar that like holds my arm up so that it doesn't get tired, but I don't have to grip. It follows where my finger is.
Oh,
So
Wow.
that's how I do it. I mean, I didn't have any choice, right? So I was a single parent and kids, one with autism, like autism. And, you know, I had to paint at night when they were asleep. I painted, this was before I had a painting career, and when I was still trying to make a living at it. And I would paint in the kitchen over the stove light. Stove light's a really great light to paint under, by the way.
Wow.
And so I would paint while they were sleeping. And as I started to lose my hands and I couldn't climb up the, you know, to do the murals anymore, you had to make accommodations. I didn't have, you know, a bankroll or a cool, you know, I didn't have a trust fund or, you know, I just was, it was just me. So I had to make these accommodations, and I'm glad, I'm lucky. I always say that, you know, so I always say there's a group of 10 people, right? Based on the statistics in the United States, one of them's going to get raped, one of them's going to get cancer, one of them's going to, you know, you get all these statistics. And so I've taken at least MS off the table for the people I love, the 10 closest people to me. And so that I'm happy as I can be. And I make as many accommodations as I can going along. And that's toxic positivity, by the way. That's great. I heard you say toxic positivity earlier, and I was like,
well, we had an episode on that. So, but I love what you're saying. I mean, to me, that so resonates. Like, you make these changes because what's the alternative? And you did it. And yeah. And maybe that's toxic positivity, but I don't think so. It's like, what's the alternative is what I come to. You figure out a way.
I own toxic positivity. I'm not going to make any apologies for it. I'm happy.
Good.
Yeah, that's, put it on a t-shirt, toxic positivity. I'll get a little name badge.
Send me one. Send me one.
Yeah, whatever. What's my choice is to be like, who's that big guy from the Muppets who's all sad? He's like an elephant thing. And
Snuffleupagus? Is he sad? No.
No, the guy from, I'm sorry, Sesame Street.
Eeyore. No.
Eeyore. Oh no, that's Winnie the Pooh.
No, Sesame Street, he's like a big, sad, anyways, you get it. That's my other option. And don't get me wrong, I have super, super down, sad times, super down sad times, and they're intense. But my sad times I like to think of as like, I have the flu. It's what I have. It's encompassing. It's going to put me in bed. It's going to want me to stay away from other people. I don't want anybody to catch my depression. I'm sad.
You are in my head, girl.
It will pass.
That's what I did this morning. I woke up and I was like, not today. I'm not doing it today. And I treated it like the flu.
Like the flu. Exactly.
And
right.
I mean, now I'm great because I did that. I tended to that.
But I want to say, some people just can't do that. They have kids. They have no money to be so positive as us. So I want to include all the people who just
I'm
can't
one of those
do
people.
that.
Just sans the kids. No kids.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Kyle?
I said I'm one of those people without the money. I'm living on student loans right now.
But you're so positive, my God. You're
I mean, if we were having this conversation this morning, you would not be saying that. That is for sure.
We need to have an episode where everybody's at their worst.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Yes. I love it.
I want to jump in because we have a couple questions coming in, and I think this, you know, it's actually interesting connecting this a little bit to work. Sometimes you just got to show up and you feel like shit and you're in a lot of pain. And not all of us have, you know, a masseuse that can just jump in the car and come to us when we need them. So what kind of, the question is from Heather Kiddo, and she just interviewed Arlene Falk. She's been living with MS since age 22, and her new book is called Walking on Pins and Needles. And she wants to know what types of healing modalities and pain management you guys use.
Chocolate. Chocolate. That's absolutely espresso and chocolate. That's my go-to drug.
Netflix.
Cannabis for sure.
I am super jealous of you, Elizabeth. I'm not allowed to have espresso anymore because
Ooh.
my MS started causing seizures.
Oh my God.
Happens sometimes. So now I have seizures, and they took away all my caffeine. So I'm
Wow.
mad
Oh,
And
that's
I'm
terrible.
starting to get,
jealous.
so I'm starting to have some minor seizures. So they probably will take that away from me. And I will definitely be depressed if I can't
Yeah.
have my espresso. Oh my God.
It took a while when I had to give up
Yeah.
coffee because I was a big coffee and espresso drinker. There was like 2 weeks where I was so down, but the doctor kept saying, you gave up espresso, like you're so, yeah, I can't have chocolate or espresso, but to manage my pain, is that the question? How to manage pain? I definitely use CBD liquids. The CBD, it's got a little bit of THC, but not a lot because like I said, I'm the caretaker for my child. So I do have to be somewhat, on. So it has a teeny bit of THC and a lot of CBD. And then of course there's the, mass amounts of gabapentin, methocarbamol, baclofen, those are muscle relaxers and nerve damage painkillers. Yeah, I think that's my cocktail.
Good one. Annie, what's your cocktail? I want to know what the doctor takes.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Gosh,
I mean,
right?
I feel lucky that I don't have a lot of pain. It's more like mental anguish that I'm like numbing out sometimes. And so I do numbing out things like watch a ton of Netflix or,
Right.
have my scotch or espresso for sure. I love my coffee. And to the degree when like I try to exercise or do something that I know that's not available to everybody. And I feel lucky that I can do that, but that helps with my stress level to
Yeah.
keep my body moving to the degree that I can. So those are sort of my coping. I feel really fortunate though that I don't have pain because I think chronic pain is really hard. And I so admire people that can deal with it because it's challenging. It's like hard to be nice when you feel in pain all the time.
Yeah, it's a motherfucker.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey,
Kyle, are you in pain
Kyle,
all the
do you-
time?
Most of the time, I'd say.
Kyle, do you think where I always know that I always know, how you can take certain pills every 6 hours. So I can always tell when I'm 45 minutes away from my next dose, the pain starts to wane and you start to you're like, what time is it? What time is it? You become like a total addict. You're like, what? I have still 45 more minutes before I can take my gabapentin.
Yeah.
Lydia, what's the painting behind you? Somebody wants to see it. And while you're moving, if you can move your camera, they want to know also if you've, let's see.
There's this one I did this. This is my daughter,
Man.
Heather, the one who I was talking about. She doesn't take off her headphones. It's very common with autism. It helps block the sound out. But I think, are you talking about this one? This one is, all right, this one's not done. So it's not done. No, you can see it, but no judging. I don't want to hear any tips. So this is going to be, this is a painting that I decided to do called The Patient. So it's just when you know something's wrong with you, but you don't know what it is, and you go to like 10 different doctors and chiropractors and oncologists, and you don't know what is wrong with you. That's what this painting is supposed to represent. So let's see if I can do this. How do I don't think I can turn this around. Oh wait, I can turn it around. Look, it's my studio. So she's not done yet, but she's gonna have all these needles and giving blood, taking blood. These are all gonna be prescriptions. And this is gonna be the healthcare symbol tied around her. And this is gonna say medical debt.
Oof.
On it.
That's powerful. I love
And
it.
over here is gonna be her prescriptions with all the prescriptions around. This is, my daughter has Photoshop. I don't have Photoshop. So I tell her what to do and she puts it together. And this
I
is,
love it.
this is actually my neighbor. I was like, you're beautiful, model for me. So she did. So yeah, that's it. That's gonna be my That's gonna be the patient who knows something's wrong but doesn't know what it is.
That's amazing.
I don't know if you have ability to see the chat right now, Lydia, but people are freaking out. Love it, beautiful. Not knowing what is wrong and trapped in diagnosis limbo is the worst. Yeah.
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really stressful to try and represent what other people are feeling. So I'm grateful. Thank you, everybody. That means a lot.
While we're at it, we've got a lot of questions coming in. And we're already at like 5:40, so I'm just going to keep firing these off. Going back to toxic positivity, you can all answer this. This was specifically for Lydia, but let's just, throw in whatever you have on it. Was it always there for you, or was there kind of an aha moment, something that was pivotal for you and you said, I have to be this way, or were you born toxic positive?
Are you're asking me or everybody?
Well, you specifically, the question was for you, Lydia, but I think everybody has their take on that.
Mine was, I had, it sounds so hokey, but I cleaned house. Anybody who was around me who was judgmental, confrontational, even people that just kind of like gossiped about other people. I cleaned house. I just got rid of anybody who was like that, and just filled my life with people who were toxically positive, or maybe they're just toxically positive around me because I won't put up with it anymore. I don't even let people really gossip around me. I just got rid of all of that. It was a dirty old house that I grew up in, and I took it with me into my 20s, and I just started dusting and getting rid of the cobwebs and anything bad. And now I don't have anybody around me who is snide or judgy or, and it makes it better. It makes it better. It really does, to get rid of those people. That's how I did it.
Annie, how did it happen?
That's awesome. First of
what's
all,
your-
what's mine? Well, first of all, I'll say mine in a minute, but I want to say, like, for Lydia, that inspires me, that cleaning house, because I think that's,
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the process of that.
oh, it's so awesome. And it's so, I do
the way to
feel
do it.
like, yeah, the older I get, the more I clean house. I also think COVID helped me along to just be like, oh my gosh, I just don't have the
Reevaluate.
tolerance for the BS anymore, or the people that I don't want to be around. Like, I just don't have any tolerance.
Yeah.
But I love that you did that, and I still, like, that inspires me. I have a ways to go still.
I'll teach you a trick.
Oh, good.
Start by only returning every third text message,
Okay.
and then every third text message after that, and never reply on the phone or on text or in person with questions. This is my craft now. You listen and you comment, but don't ask anything. And you will find people love nothing more than being asked about themselves. That's what they live for. And if you stop asking,
that is so true.
Yeah, if you stop asking, eventually they will grow bored and they will leave. And you can get rid of the toxic people without ever having to do anything. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. I like it. All right. That's a good skill. I'm going to try that. To answer you, Elizabeth, I think, like, I think it's partly just my nature that I've always been like, I think the way I was raised in childhood was a little bit like buck up kind of philosophy, like fall down, get up, you're fine. So that's sort of ingrained in me at times to a fault. Like, I think my work is more to, like, let myself sit still with the uncomfortable feelings sometimes, because I tend to go very quickly to, like, what can I do? How can I move through this? How can I change this into action mindset, which has served me well. But I think, I have one daughter in particular who's always saying to me, like, Mom, every time I say I'm sad, like, I know we do this with our kids sometimes where we go to problem solving mode instead of just like, let's sit with the discomfort. And so she's good in that she'll push back and be like, just let me be unhappy. I'm just unhappy and I just want to be unhappy. which is always good for me to be like, okay, but I recognize that I'm uncomfortable with that. And my tendency, what's built into me is to want to be like, well, how can I problem solve? Like, yeah. And goes back to what I said, like, what's the alternative? Like, are we going to sit here and just like moan about it, or are we going to do something? And so that has served me, and I like that way of being, but I also see the other side of that, that sometimes it's okay to sit with that pain, and that's something I work on.
Good for you.
Well,
That's
I'm not very good at it.
Well,
But
Annie, you can't cleanse everybody from your life either, because you're in a workplace where, I would imagine you're interacting with lots of different types of people every day.
yes, no, this is true. Like I mean, part of being a doctor is sort of like a service profession in a way, right? So you do have, but in a lot of work and that are service professions, you have to deal with people that are hostile and negative and not nice to be around sometimes. And how do you do that without taking it in and still doing what you need to do? And yeah. And that's something I navigate. But I love thinking of Lydia's world, where you have this amazing crew of like, and I really am intrigued by that. And I want to learn more about creating that environment where it's all people that aren't the same philosophically, politically, et cetera. And yet there's no judgment, because I think that's cool.
Oh, trust me, though, there are times when things get tense. Don't get me wrong. There are times where we're like, all right, everybody cool down. Like, there are times where people get tense, but then the whole point is to live through that, to not storm off and not have a fit and not go, well, we'll never see eye to eye, so we're just out of here. So it takes time, and I don't have any religion at all. I'm a scientist by nature, and my kids are scientists, and we're all about the science, God. And so to be around people who have such faith, whatever it is, to me is fascinating. I love it. I think I can love their faith and admire their conviction without having to also subscribe to their, you know what I mean? Like I can love Star Wars and not dress like Chewbacca. Like
I interrupt though? Can I
Yeah.
interrupt, Lydia?
Yeah.
I think I worry about, for myself, the toxic positivity of your message. Like, you're like a superhero. And I think most people like me are not superheroes. And I I just love everything about your energy. But I don't think I have the ability to clean house like you recommend. I love that, but I don't think I'm as toxically positive as you are. I think I'm more toxic than you are.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
really
no,
describe
I
her
know.
as toxic positivity. I mean, you're just positive. I mean,
Yeah.
I always took toxic positivity to be like dismissive of my circumstances from people that don't want to understand. But I don't feel like you're toxic.
I don't either. I wouldn't say that, I mean, I think we came relentlessly positive, made positive, but I think that term toxic positivity, I think that does, like, to me, that means sort of like negating the other side,
that's how I always took
the
it.
painful bits. And I don't think you're doing that, but I hear Elizabeth's point, and I think like that, well, it's pretty cool to be, well, I mean, I aspire to that, but not everybody can do that. I don't know. Say more, Elizabeth.
I certainly don't negate any of the hardship, and trust me, we go through them here every day. I think the difference between me and a lot of or some other people, not a lot of other people, but some other people, is that I try to take solace and comfort in the breast of what is good. And I trust me, with as a 24-hour caregiver to somebody with autism, a grown-up with autism now, and to have MS myself, I can guarantee you there are rough fucking times every day. But I have hope, and I have hope and belief. I know that's really simple, and it's probably rubbish to a lot of people, but I have hope and belief, and I love, instead of photoshopping my paintings and making everybody look beautiful, I like wrinkles. I like scars. I like the pain. I like all of it. And it's hard and it's dirty and it's messy, but that doesn't mean that it can't also be beautiful. Like right now, I'm looking at you, Elizabeth, I'm in the Zoom and I'm looking at you and you're right below me. And I'm jealous of you right now because when you smile while you're talking, both sides of your mouth go up and mine don't. Look at this. That's MS. You see that? And so nobody else would have probably noticed that if I hadn't pointed it out about myself.
For sure.
There's something beautiful in everything. And my crooked smile is, I got to figure out how to make it be okay. And I don't know if that's toxic. I think we were joking about the toxic, but how I choose to live my life, I know not everybody can do, certainly not in an emergency room.
Right.
And trust me, I have my run-ins with people I don't care for very much, but I don't carry them, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't carry them around with me.
And
that was a conscious decision not to carry them around with me. And it's hard, it takes work.
I like that. It seems to me like it's like not necessarily, well, it's definitely not negating anything, but it's sort of like a making room for like the whole range of everything, and that not making any of that, I don't know, I'm not making sense, but just like to me, that whole range of emotion and expression can be beautiful, even when it's hard and even when it's painful, and it's just part of it, and making room for that as part of the experience that is beautiful and positive and challenging and all at the same time.
Best of it all.
You guys have heard the term kintsugi, the pottery that is in Japan. When pottery is broken,
yes,
they like to repair it with gold paint, right, so that, or gold glue or whatever, so that you can actually see the cracks. Right. And, you know, that's sort of, it's the image I keep having in my head is it's this, you know, there's lots of cracks there and there's lots of traumas and all of that when it's, you know, I don't know if celebrated is the right word, but when it's revealed and it's included in the definition of who you are, it can be quite stunning and beautiful. So
it can.
And Elizabeth, that's what you've done with your paintings too.
Yeah, I love looking at medical technology and making it beautiful and ugly and boring and average and just everything, the mess of life. I agree. I actually feel like I'm proud to have MS. It's weird to say, but I feel like, oh, it's great I have MS. Is that my toxic positivity? I don't know, but I love being an artist and studying the MS brain and the lesions. Going, wow, I have a really cool brain. It's awful, but it's kind of cool, and I really am proud. I am really proud to have MS. And Kyle's going, you're so weird. Am I so weird, Kyle?
You're so weird and I love it.
You guys are such a great bunch. We've got 5 minutes left, and I know we want to hear from Lisa, our co-producer. She's going to come in and throw one last question to you all before we wrap it up. But we could, this is what a beautiful conversation, you guys.
So I'm just jumping in here, and it's so funny because I've been listening to you and then typing up, you know, a note of what I want to ask, and then you guys would get to it. I'm like, okay, well, I need to come to another one, and you guys would answer it. So just to be transparent, I'm what we consider able-bodied, so I don't experience all what you experience. And as I listen, you were talking about toxic positivity, and I don't want to get too far into that, but I think even people like myself fall into that trap because we don't know what else to do.
Mhm.
And we want to think of
Right.
something clever or not make the other person feel uncomfortable. And I'm specifically thinking about the workplace, because there are times when you can't get away from people who don't know what to say, don't know what to do, aren't aware of the situation. And is there anything that you could say that would make that more approachable, both for people living with chronic illness and maybe people who are in the workplace who are able-bodied, aren't living with any kind of illness whatsoever?
Do you mean people, what to do when you're in the workplace and you encounter somebody who is not favorable, somebody you don't like? What do you do then?
Correct.
So I was on the plane the other day with my 21-year-old, and a guy came in, he sat next to us, and he was on fire. He was just ready to fight with anybody. He was mad at the flight attendant, mad at the chair. This thing sucks. Oh, no TV, blah, blah, blah. He just had a problem with everybody. And my 21-year-old had never experienced anything like that. And the flight attendants had to tell him twice that he was going to get barred from flying. That's how bad he was.
Wow.
And I said to her, I said, do you want to know how to handle this situation? This might not work for everybody, but buckle up. I was like, you want to know how to handle this guy? Hold on a second. And then I said, hey man, do you want some nicotine gum or like a whiskey? Or he's like, I didn't bring my ID. And I was like, I'll get you a glass of wine. And I got him a glass of wine, and she was like, what are you doing? And I said, you don't want the crazy, you want the crazy person on the flight to want to kill everyone but you.
Mhm.
And that's the way I treat people when trust me, I've done
I love it.
murals where people will anybody can walk up to me on the street. I don't like that. How come she's not Mexican or white, or everybody's had a problem? How come her hair is brown and she should, whatever. So those flowers are the wrong color. So you have to deal with all of them. So and they will walk by all day and yell up at me. And sometimes they'll get underneath my ladder. And, so I have learned over the years to just be like, really, brown hair? I hadn't thought about, let me think about that. That might be really good on a next mural. Are you an artist? All that stuff. That's my 2 cents on how to get by with crazy people.
I like that. Street
I like
smart.
that too.
Anyone
Just
else have
Lydia, I was just gonna say, just Lydia Emily is gonna say.
I was
How to top
trying-
that? How to top that? I don't know.
I was trying to navigate that for my last job. I worked at, it was an outdoor adventure company. Everybody was very, very able-bodied and go, sports. And so they didn't even pay attention to me. So they weren't uncomfortable. I was just invisible to them, really. That job was weird. I was hoping we were touch on some discrimination in the workplace regarding disability, which I did experience at that last job. I don't know if you ever saw that movie Office Space back in like 1999. Okay. With Milton, and all he wanted was his stapler back. I feel like this last job, the only thing they didn't take from me was my stapler. By the end of my time there, my desk was out in the hallway, close to the front door. Like, they're like, you're right outside the accounting office. Like, we can keep the doors open. And it's like, I've been a part of this department for 6 years. And
Because if you're
That's
just
terrible. That sucks. I'm so sorry.
Well, I mean, it was I was laughing about it by the end. I was like, are they joking? Is this a joke? This is hilarious. Do you not see the funny in this? Because this, wow. But yeah, I'm glad I'm done with that.
Well, I'm
Totally.
glad you shared that, because I don't think that if you had actually shared that with us, Kyle, people can't imagine actually that that would happen in these times. But hey,
Right. Yeah.
Maybe that's a whole nother episode you guys do, you know, just
Yeah.
that subject.
Yeah.
That is an
right.
important subject that we did not
Mhm.
touch on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we need an
'cause
hour for that one.
Yeah, we do. I was gonna
Oh, yeah.
say, like, my go-to is just like trying to keep light and keep a sense, not take everything personally, but you
Yeah.
know what? Sometimes, like in your situation, it's a fine line. Like, when do you laugh?
Yeah.
When do you stop laughing? Because it's really not funny anymore.
Exactly.
And so there is a point where it crosses over. But I think
Exactly.
like keeping it light and laughing at myself and not taking everything too seriously helps me to a point, but sometimes, you know, it crosses the line
Yeah.
in your, like in that case.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Kyle's experience, which I think is another show, but when with other people, they're all going to make mistakes. I make mistakes.
Mhm.
So people don't know how to approach us. They don't know, and they are scared to offend us, or they're assholes or whatever.
Mhm.
They're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. So I just feel like you have to forgive them,
Mhm.
and people should approach us, not be afraid of us, because I don't want anyone to feel that judging me because they
Mhm.
don't know the awkward phrase. And
Yeah. I agree with that. And Lydia, you said that at the beginning, and I agree that like I think you said like most people kind of want to do the right thing or want to say
Yeah.
that like or want to understand. And I think that's mostly true. That doesn't
sure.
always hold, of course,
so.
but it's mostly true.
I found that most people want to do the right thing, and the few that don't generally want to do the right thing later. Like those guys who put
Right. Oh,
your
yeah.
desk out into the street, or the guys who put Kyle's desk out into the hallway, they're
Mhm.
going to rethink that moment in a couple
Mm.
years. They
I
are.
hope so.
You'll be gone. It won't matter. But I find that if people don't want to do the right thing now, eventually it catches up with them. Not everybody is born with the right tools. Not everybody came from the parents that you
True.
came from.
Mhm.
They don't have a toolbox with therapy tools in it. You know, they're,
Very true.
you know, fumbling through life the best way they can with whatever
Yeah.
rudimentary monkey tools they got from their parents. So,
Mhm.
you know, it's hard to judge them.
We're all learning.
We're all learning. And
I
that's
was
kind of a good way to end, you guys. We're actually run over, and I don't want to keep everybody, but I do think this is one of those great places where we're learning from each other.
yeah.
The audience is learning. I mean, this is the place where we're, you know, we're just showing our mess and learning from it, and hopefully creating a little safety and community along the way with it. So Lydia, thank you so much for being with us and taking time.
Yeah.
Do you have something to say? I can see you raising your
Oh yeah, I wanted to say that, Elizabeth, you brought us all together.
Mhm.
That's a lot of work for a paraplegic, I'd say. Brought us all together, and with your perfect smile on both sides. And look at,
I think I see a painting in your future, Lydia, that's something about smiles.
But Kimberly is the one, and Lisa, not just me. They're,
oh,
but I
Well,
have to,
yeah, we're just you know, like maybe the wind beneath your wings, Elizabeth.
I just call myself her joyful minion. So
so if anybody wants to watch any of the previous episodes, audience, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. You can go to unfixedmedia.com and see them all there. You can also go to jamesonfineart.com. Elizabeth has all of her amazing art there, and also all the previous episodes. Next month, we're going to actually be 1 week later. I don't remember what the topic is at this moment, but I'm just so grateful that you all gathered tonight, and nice to see your lovely faces.
And
Thanks,
if you
everyone.
want to ask or request what you would like the next episode to be,
Mhm.
let us know.
Definitely.
Yes.
Share
Please
with your
share.
friends, tell people.
Yeah.
Tell people we have a QR code now. You want to make a t-shirt? We'll put an MS Confidential QR code on your t-shirt.
Oh, thank
Lydia,
you.
it was really nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Good night,
want to be your
everyone.
best friend.
You are my best friend.
I
Wait,
know.
what? Aren't we already?
Yes, we are. Bye.
Good night,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Good night, y'all.
Bye.